Episode 42.
Episode 42.
Scramble mode. We made it.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, we did. Sunday was a write-off for me. I'm like, if Chris messages me, fine, let's do it. But if he doesn't text me, we're not doing it.
No. It's all good. We got Stolichnaya. Stoli, we're drinking vodka. The rate of Dad's liquor cabinet continues.
I love it. I love it.
We're doing vodka.
How
are you with vodka?
I like a vodka soda or like a vodka water, but I'm not. These days, it's not my first choice. Like we had bubbly and vodka
the other night,
on Saturday, and that's pretty much my extent for drinking vodka these days.
Well, it's gonna change.
Yeah, because we're about to drink it right fucking now.
This is the good shit too.
I don't know what's good and bad for vodka.
Well, I don't know how many awards it wins, but I think it's a good shit.
Okay. Well, I'll take your word for it. I am also, you brought it up a couple weeks ago, trying to keep the logo on the glasses like facing the camera.
Yeah, now that you know.
I'm gonna try to. Yeah. I'm gonna try, but no promises. No fucking promises. What's it say on the bottle?
It's Latvian.
Isn't vodka like potato?
This is wheat, this one.
Wheat?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
I'd like to get a good... Oh, sorry. This is Russian, but it's bottled in Latvia.
Gotcha.
Russian vodka.
I want to know who started all the alcohols. Like who came up with like if you take rye, you do it like this, you get this sick alcohol.
I think the creation of alcohol and the consumption is like as old as human beings.
Really?
I think so.
Huh.
I'm just going to turn a little bit so I can
I was thinking the same thing.
There we go.
It's a little better.
So now we're just out of frame of the camera, probably.
now all you see is our plant.
Yeah. There's like evidence that human beings have been drinking beer and fermented fruits and wines. Like literally wherever you find evidence of human beings living, you'll find evidence of human beings drinking alcohol.
Jesus.
It's one of the oldest things. That's why I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to because I'm not 100% sure if it's true. There used to be a rumor that like because when certain cultures didn't have a long-standing history with alcohol, they would struggle with it when it would appear.
Okay.
That's probably just a cultural thing, but human beings basically evolved with booze.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a period of time throughout the year in Africa where all the fruits start to ferment anyways and like the animals get drunk as shit?
Oh, there's tons of videos of like monkeys like stealing booze or drinking like certain fermented or like you said fermented fruits and then getting hammered.
I think there's a time in like whether it's Africa or like Madagascar, so some crazy place like that.
Yeah.
That like there's a time of the year or maybe it's like every 4 years where the like fruit ferments and like because all the animals eat it, they all end up getting drunk for like
hammered
a weekend
and have a good party. Yeah. There's a good video, and I think it was a study. I'd have to go back and double check, but there's this one place. Let's say it's in Mexico.
Yeah.
Tourists always leave their bottles of beer. I think I might have seen this on like Planet Earth or something. Tourists always leave their bottles of beer around. So there's a group of monkeys that live near there.
Yeah.
And they come down, they'll drink the remnants of beer. And you can almost like track who. So like there's like if the monkey parents don't drink, the baby parents usually don't drink. If the parents are like heavy drinkers, the babies end up being heavy drinkers. So there's these like almost like these hereditary ties or like cultural ties to your immediate family when it comes to drinking, which kind of makes sense in humans. I don't think it's like easily translatable, but it's like a good little snapshot of sort of how human beings operate. Like
that's crazy.
I come from a pretty heavy drinking family on both sides.
Yeah. Would never know.
You wouldn't tell.
No.
Considering we review alcohol every episode. But there is, if you think about the amount of people that you know that drink, very few people that drink, the parents drank. If you know what I mean? Like, oh, do your parents drink? No, my parents never drink.
Yeah.
But you drink? Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah.
Or you go the other way. I know a guy whose dad was a raging alcoholic and he doesn't drink at all because he doesn't like he doesn't like drunk people.
Well, he grew up with it.
You can go one of two ways. You can like
you either go down the rabbit hole or you stay out of it.
I also I think there is some hereditary ties. I also believe that generally if you're just like a regular person, you can keep it under control or not out of control if you want to or don't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you have a job and you have everything going, you can be a degenerate alcoholic every night or you can not.
Yeah.
I think most of it's a choice.
100%.
But I'm sure that's controversial. But
well, yeah, definitely. Everything is.
I don't mean it to like, I'm not saying it to be controversial. I mean it in the sense that like, I'm sure a scientist would be like, no, there's like more shit to it than just whatever you just said.
Well,
shocking. I know.
Well, yeah. Okay. Let's
drink this vodka.
Fucking cheers.
Cheers. It's good.
It's smooth.
Yeah.
That's good for vodka. I just don't enjoy the taste of vodka.
I actually don't mind this taste.
Really?
I prefer it to tequila.
I'm gonna have to
disagree.
Yeah, disagree with you on that one.
It doesn't have a bad taste.
Those of you who have watched the episode where we did drink Terramana, I drank it the other night again on the rocks. Absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm. It's really good.
And my justification to it was it would help me slow down because I was pounding through vodka sodas. Didn't really do that.
No,
I ended up flying through that tequila. It's so good.
Yeah, there's a. You said I've switched to the hard stuff to slow down because I'm getting too drunk.
Well, yeah,
and it didn't make much sense to me.
Well, yeah, but my thoughts were because I was flying through the vodka sodas, they were just too good.
Going down like wine.
No, they were going down like water. Like I was slamming water, and I figured if I switched to like tequila or even a glass of whiskey, I'm going to be sipping on it. It's going to take me longer to get through, therefore not, like, it's still only 2 shots. I'm putting that in my vodka sodas anyways. That was my thoughts, but I didn't really slow down.
No, because it tastes good and you're like, oh, I'm going to throw this back just as fast. Fantastic. And then it's still the same amount of alcohol that you're consuming. I think if you want to like pace yourself, you should start off with the hard stuff. Because then you're sipping on it, you know you're getting fucked up. But like you said, with vodka waters, they go down so smooth.
Yeah.
You have 1 or 2 and you're like, whoa.
And especially like,
trashed.
With the bubblies, they taste like whatever. You have strawberry bubbly, it's going to taste like fucking strawberry. And it tastes
exactly like a socialite.
Exactly like a socialite. It's actually unreal.
It's pretty uncanny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's fantastic though.
I'm going to start making my own vodka, I've decided. Just now. Just by drinking.
You know how to do it?
Not at all.
Perfect.
But I got my wife a drunken botany book about making booze for her birthday.
It's not bad, but I don't love it. And again,
what don't you love about it?
I think it's just vodka in general.
It doesn't have a bad taste though.
To me, like,
or is it just it's a preference?
Yeah, I feel like all vodkas taste like this. This is smooth. But vodka does have a distinct taste. Like laundry detergent.
This is almost sweet.
A little bit.
Almost.
But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of the vodka flavor, so disclaimer on that one. It's very smooth though.
Still 3 times.
Probably one of the top vodkas like I've drank recently.
Yeah, if you're not, because when vodka is mixed into like a cocktail,
you don't taste it. No,
or if you do, you just get like
time.
the alcohol taste. You don't get the actual taste of the vodka.
Yeah, and that's usually the only time I drink vodka.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if I have a vodka water, I've got like a lime in there or a lemon.
You're spicing it up a touch.
Yeah, I got something in there other than just vodka.
Vodka, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the Russians for drinking this shit every day.
Good on you.
They love it. And I'm with them. I'm moving to Russia.
It's warming me up. And it's warm outside.
Nice. I can start rating.
Yeah, you want to start? I'm a little
I actually like the smell. I don't find I find
really?
I find that most vodka Again, I'm more of a vodka drinker than you are.
Yes,
Or
have been
in the
years.
past. I find that most vodka has like a very strong alcohol smell.
Very.
I don't find it that bad with this one. I'm going.
Yeah.
I don't
Again,
know.
you drink it more than I do.
I'm going 7.1 on the smell because I don't
Okay.
think it's that bad.
Okay.
It's gonna be pretty high for me. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, again, you drink. It's hard for me because I don't drink
That's
vodka.
what makes it interesting. We're gonna try shit that you like that I don't. Like the
Smells
tequila.
I'm with you on the smell. Like it's
not that bad.
It's not heavy on the alcohol. What did we just have recently? Oh, Crown Royal.
Mhm.
Like this is less than Crown Royal.
Yeah,
smell, like
you would
alcohol.
expect this to like be like overpowering.
Yeah, and it's really not.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go 7 flat.
7 on the button
Yeah.
for CJ on the smell department.
Yeah.
My first sip was my first impression of it. Virgin
Was good.
7.3,
Wow.
but it gets better, so it's gonna be rated higher.
Okay.
But like just like the first wasn't much of a burn.
See, I might throw you
Really
off
smooth.
here. My Virgin was amazing.
Yeah. What do you got?
I'm going 7.6.
That's fair.
The first sip, again, for being vodka, and I'm not a huge vodka drinker unless it's a vodka soda.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic. I
Yeah.
don't hate it.
It's really good.
Smoothness is fucking up there. This is some of the smoothest.
I will say, so far we're on a good run of smoothness.
You brought this up.
Since we've got
You
this
brought
here.
this up like episode 22. Not
Thanks
actually.
for remembering.
Not actually, but you did bring this up. So our liquor stores, the LCBO, because it's regulated, and like it's almost like you have to pay more to like have your shit shown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure, you can order whatever the fuck you want, but when you walk into the store, it's all like the generic, like not necessarily the best.
You
of
got
the
your
best,
name brand stuff.
but it's good.
I would disagree. I think there's a lot of shit on the shelves. Most of
For
it's
the-
name brand, so you would think it's like,
But it's all like big companies. Like you go to the vodka
yeah,
aisle.
that's true. You're right.
Smirnoff takes up
Half the fucking aisle.
a third of the
Yeah.
aisle,
No, you're right.
right? So it and like Smirnoff's not my top choice, but they have so much shit. It's like it's hard to find almost regular Smirnoff now. You get lemon, you get marshmallow,
Yeah,
you
you're
get
right.
fucking this, you get that, you get
And Smirnoff has the worst flavored vodka. There's really good flavored vodka out there.
Yeah.
One that I would recommend immediately, Kettle One Botanical Vodka. It's fucked. They have a peach
the kettle one. Yeah, the peach
They
one
have a
I
peach
had.
one. They have a grapefruit one. And if you like peaches, great, because it only tastes like that. You can drink this shit straight.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Same thing with the grapefruit. If you like grapefruit, you're getting a lot of that too.
It's
So,
like Ciroc though. I had the Ciroc. What
I don't
do
put
they do
Ciroc.
peach one though?
They do, but I don't put that anywhere near the Kettle One.
So I didn't mind the Ciroc one, the peach, like drinking it out of the bottle. Like I could do shots of that,
Okay.
no problem.
I didn't find
Again,
it was
it's
that
all
good.
flavored shit. It's not their actual vodka. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not this is what made us.
I don't.
Does that make sense?
Well, I thought Ciroc, like one of their major appeals was that it was like only flavored vodka.
Well, they had
That's
three.
Diddy's.
They had
Is that
yeah.
Diddy?
They had 3 bottles when it came out. They had their like plain Jane. They had the peach, and then they had like a grape or something like that.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think the Ciroc can hold a candle to any of the flavored shit.
Oh, I'm
now.
not saying it.
I
it
think
does, but
Ciroc is better than like a Smirnoff flavored vodka
yes,
because like basically it tastes like vodka with like someone like did a dropper of like an orange in there.
yeah,
But the way they do this Kettle One shit, I think they actually make it with these ingredients. I
Yeah.
think it's a different process. I'm not
Could be
sure
wrong.
what
Could be
botanical
right.
means.
I have
Probably wrong.
No idea what the fuck that means.
Certainly wrong.
But
That's for sure.
Yeah, so we went off on a huge tangent there, but yeah, I just feel like our liquor stores, the variety is lacking, but it's
You get a
it's
lot of
kinda-
Ford F-150s there.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to not like something. Like if you go and grab something off the shelf, which I've done many of times coming here.
Chances are it's going to be good.
Yeah. And I think we've only had one bad whiskey that we both didn't like.
I almost brought that back up here before I brought this. I almost wanted to re-review that Japanese
I'm
one.
down to do it again.
Because I feel like if we break it down a bit more,
it might be
better.
It might hold it.
And also because we have such a negative first thought of it, we're like,
You can only go up from there.
Well, because before we're like, we sipped it, we're like, nah, don't like it, 6.8.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't.
Yeah, there was no justification to it.
No.
Other than there was no, like, I remember saying there was no flavor.
Yeah.
That's literally all I remember from
But that
our
said,
review.
the smoothness could be higher and the finish could be higher, so the flavor can be low.
Yeah.
So you might get a more balanced rating.
100%. No, I do agree.
Almost
Next week.
grabbed it. Sure.
Next week.
Yeah, it's sitting right there.
Next week.
Coming at you.
Japanese whiskey coming back.
I still think it's going to be shitty because it's a blend. But
Yeah, me too. I literally have the lowest hopes for that
so
whiskey.
it's going to like come out like an 8.9. It's
might.
going to blow our socks off.
It could, and I hope it does, but I feel like it won't. I do want some ice.
I think the flavor's good on this.
Yep.
I'm
It's turning around on me.
going to go an 8.2 on the flavor.
8.2. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's like almost a little sweet.
I do get a little sweetness to it. Yes.
It's
Do you get?
it's really mellow. It's not overpowering.
Do you get a slight burn on the finish? Like
Touch, yeah.
Once it goes down,
it's warm. Yeah.
warmer. I get like a tingle in the back of my throat though, like right after it goes down, like a little. Hey, you just swallowed me.
Get me out of here. So what do you want to rate the finish then, since it's on your mind?
Yeah, I will do the finish. I'm gonna go 6.9. I don't love it. It's not terrible, but it's that's a pass.
That's probably fair because
It's a pass.
This definitely has burned. It's very minor.
Yeah.
It's definitely been warmer than the other ones.
Yes. Yes.
It's not my favorite.
But it's also a vodka. This is the first time
I think it's to be expected.
Yeah.
When it comes to the vodka thing.
Yeah.
So like I'm not gonna like kill it, but I
See, I think
I'm gonna copy you.
I feel like a 6.9 is not killing it.
I don't think it is either. I was debating whether to go lower,
Oh shit.
but I think it's
it's
again,
like, it's just quick.
yeah. I think there'd be other vodkas out there where it just like burns all the way down and is
Yeah,
garbage.
it's
So I feel like this
fucking
is a reasonable.
Yeah.
That's why I stole your number.
So the flavor, I'm gonna go up there with you again because I do think it's got a lot of flavor or good flavor. I should say that
Good flavor, yeah.
for a vodka. And I'm gonna go 7.9.
It's a good score.
Yeah. And then smoothness is fucking right up there. That's an easy 8.7.
I'm gonna go a little higher at 8.8.
Yeah.
With the smoothness.
Yeah, right on.
Um,
I do think it's gonna be better with ice though.
I'm looking forward to drinking with ice.
It's also hot as shit outside. Actually, it's not too bad because of the wind, but yeah, I like it better with ice.
Everything's better with ice.
Get a little more. Nah, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm gonna just leave it.
Okay.
That's my rating. You heard it here. What can we tally us up?
I'm gonna tally us up.
All right.
I was hoping that you would start talking for a little bit before I.
Yeah, no, do your thing. I do like it. If you're gonna, I think vodka needs to be. I think it's kind of like tequila, where you need to drink it on ice. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong.
I think for me at least, vodka is something that if I'm gonna have a glass of vodka, it's gonna be on ice. Do you know what you're doing?
Absolutely not.
Again?
I'm gonna fuck that up again. That's why I was just hoping you would just be talking while I try to do this shit. Oh man,
Chris is over here trying to do fucking math
calculus.
again. He's trying to do bed math. What was that other math system? Oh my god. I can't fucking remember. Long division. Chris is over there trying to add and
I fucked this
divide.
up again.
Yeah, just add them all up.
Yeah, you know why I fucked it up? Because I'm an idiot. That's why.
And I'm maybe talking and you can hear me in your head.
That's not it.
Okay.
It's
Now divide by 5.
Yeah, I got it.
There you go.
It's exactly right the first time.
There you go. Yeah, literally what you had the first time was exactly what it should have been.
All right, I'm trusting myself.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Let's do it. Can he get it?
Nope.
Oh, fuck. Just as I was about to
Just
say,
talk.
can he get it on the first try? He cannot.
No, I got stuffed on the takedown.
This vodka actually surprised me really, like a lot. Actually, I didn't. When you said I got vodka we can drink,
you were like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, I was like, fuck. But I also didn't want to stop off at the LCBO, so
Neither did I.
beggars can't be choosers.
Also, I think it was good. I think we should have a wider range anyway.
100%. I do like that we're not exclusive.
I also
to
have
whiskey.
this fucking brandy in there that I want to try too.
Let's do it. We should get cognac.
I think it's cognac.
Oh,
it's cognac. It's VSOP. Whatever. Is that cognac or brandy?
You're asking the wrong guy.
I should be asking the right guy. There you go. Yeah. Here's your score.
All right. So coming in hot, my rating is a 7.6.
And I was just above him at 7.7. That's pretty fair. It's pretty good.
That's good. Okay. This is how I see it. If you're in the 9s, you have an outstanding, a must-buy whiskey or
if you're in the 9s,
beverage.
Every category has to be in the 9s.
Yeah, but again, like even high 8s, that is an outrageous, like it's a fucking phenomenal score. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just going back and looking at some of the last weeks.
I think between
8,
like
3, 5,
mid
8.
6s to high 7s is a great drink. And again, is something you should consider buying. When you start getting low 6s, low like into the 5s even, you're not looking too hot.
No, and I would also
anything lower than that is
something that we were
subpar.
I wouldn't say it's a point of contention, but when we were trying to come up with this this rating, and I was pushing to have like something to do with the price built into the score, and you were right in the sense that it could sway something that's good or bad. Like you could have a really good bottle, but because you think it's like a little overpriced, it could drag the score down. So I'm with you. I think we should just focus on how does this thing taste.
Yeah.
One thing I will say though is this is really reasonably priced. This is like $28 for a 2.6.
Jesus.
Yeah, like this is
cheap.
I would call it cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, because any liquor bottle off the shelf is like $25 to $30, right?
Yep.
And cheap, you can get a bottle of vodka like Polar Ice off the shelf, which I think is like battery acid. I think it's terrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
We could review it. Pretty much costs the same as this shit.
Yeah.
So I would say like
we probably will review it at some point.
Because this is like I would say a poor man's bottle of vodka. Very good. I think compared to a Grey Goose, I think it would stack up just the same. Personally. And Grey Goose is like double the price. Close to it.
My brother used to only drink Grey Goose for the longest time.
See, again, if you're mixing it, there's not much of a point.
Like shots. Like,
well, then fair. I think this is smoother.
There was another one, red bottle. Belvedere
vodka.
I only think their special bottle was red. I don't think their normal
No, their
bottle
regular
was red.
bottle's not. I'm trying to find, I've had a lot of vodka. Sky, Flight.
Sky, you used to, I remember when you were on the Sky train.
Yeah, it was dark days.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
There you go, folks. 7.7, 7.6.
You heard
First
it here.
vodka.
Yeah,
Many
first
more to
vodka
come
on the channel.
We got more. We plan on doing this shit a little bit longer, so we got to find more shit to drink.
And again, I do want to go it'd be tough to do it a month, but like maybe like once a month, do like a cocktail.
Yeah, I'm in.
So like do like a Manhattan or
that reminded me.
Or strawberry daiquiris.
So one of the, I think it's Weiser's actually has a pre-mixed Manhattan or old fashioned.
Really?
They have a pre-mixed bottle of old fashioned. All you have to do is add ice. That's all they say. It is a perfect cocktail of an old fashioned. 35% alcohol as well.
Wow.
Yeah. I was thinking that's something we should try too.
Hell yeah.
But I would also like to make our own. Make them in-house.
Yeah,
sample them.
Yeah.
I'm more down that road.
Yeah.
Like we were drinking margaritas the other night. And they were delicious. Like that's something you could sample.
Those were fantastic margaritas.
Mm-hmm.
They did a fantastic job.
They are...
I'm a big fan of the margarita. And not crushed ice.
No, just ice.
Unless you're making it for fucking 30 people.
And you want to just throw it in a tiger.
Yeah.
The juice tiger.
The juice tiger. Go right for it. But you're making it for select few, put fucking regular cubes in that shit. I don't want to get brain freeze when I try to chug my margarita.
You don't want to drink a slushy. You just want to enjoy the margarita. Because margarita itself, like with all the flavors in it, is just good as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Especially when you put good tequila with it.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
I wish we had used Terramana. Totally forgot to bring it out. Till after I finished my margarita and had a glass of tequila. Oh, shit.
Oh, man. Stick around for Chris Predicts because I got killed in the fights this weekend. We got killed.
We did?
I think I only got 2 right.
I thought we got 3.
We're going to go back and
unless you were lying to me during the fights, which is a high possibility.
I was also high as a kite.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. We're going to go back and review it. That's the whole point of the update.
Yeah.
There is new NHL series.
Yes.
Which I will be predicting. And other than that, just a couple updates, mostly the UFC and the hockey updates.
Yeah, because we're still waiting on football, right?
There's a lot of football to be accomplished.
For you Americans, we're talking about soccer.
Also you Canadians.
Yeah, true.
Don't love it.
I really want to understand. I want to know the justification for making like American football called football. You use your foot once.
It was
maybe twice.
I think handball was taken. It just became. I read something on this a long time ago. Like it was like some dumb article. Like how did American football end up getting like it should be called hand egg?
Yeah.
Like
leather hands.
Leather hands. Throw this thing.
Throw the cow.
Yeah. Forward moving rugby. Like anything. There was
wannabe rugby.
Both those sports are fucked. The American football, I think, like every tackle in the NFL is the equivalent to a car crash.
It's fucked.
It's like because I think the guys run like 35 miles an hour.
Oh, they're not
opposite directions, and then they come to a dead stop. It's a car accident, and you're using your body.
One guy just stands there, and this guy's full tilt and just gets
blown up,
stopped in his tracks.
Yeah, it's like getting hit by a fucking bus.
Fuck,
tough bastards. Shortest career too.
100%. Yeah,
and lowest paid. They're crazy assholes.
Yeah. I feel like UFC would be more underpaid than football players.
I was referring to the big 4 sports: hockey, basketball, NFL.
Oh, what are you saying? MMA is not a sport and it's not big?
I don't think that's what I said at all. I think that's not what I said. I was referring to the big 4 North American sports, and baseball's in there too. I think UFC MMA in general is going to probably has already overtaken hockey as far as pure revenue.
Yeah, but
hockey's very low.
But the fighters make like next to nothing.
Some of them, yeah.
Majority of them.
You'd have to work it out.
Look how many people are on the free fights before the pay-per-view. How many fights happen then? They're all contracted by the UFC.
Yeah, and they're like a win loss. No, they're not making a ton of cash.
No, even the guys that are on like the undercard.
Well, I remember Anthony Pettis was fighting. I think it was Nate Diaz, and he only made like $300,000 or something like that, and it was on the main card, main pay-per-view. But $300,000, some might say $300,000 for a night's work. It's pretty good,
True, but
and he's a middle of the road fighter, and he great nothing off him.
Yeah, so
he's not a major draw.
What I think a lot of people don't haven't bring into a consideration is all the training.
Yeah, training camps,
paying for the trainers, everybody that's on your team, buying
managers, agents.
Food. Yeah, there's so much shit. Like the actual paycheck that they get after winning that fight, or just
how much
being
is left
in a fight. Yeah, which I've heard. Now again, this is from some older fighters. It's like next to nothing. It's like, how do you even make a living?
Yeah, I'm sure if you worked it out on like an hourly basis for how much you're actually clearing when all the debts get settled, some fighters are.
Especially if you get injured and if you were supposed to fight 3 times in a year,
your paycheck gone.
And you only fight twice, fuck me.
A lot of guys, all of 2020 was washed for them. because there was that huge lull where every sport league on the planet basically came to a stop, and they were trying to figure out ways to kind of get back going. That cost a lot of fighters cost them a lot. I mean, Leon Edwards has only fought twice in 2 years. And he's insane. A contender.
Yeah.
I did get 3. I'm just thinking back for the fights.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought we did.
First one we lost.
Yeah.
Second one, the guy had his arm snapped in half.
That was what?
But I think we had the right guy.
The fact that, okay, we'll talk about it when we get
we'll talk about it later.
Let's educate. Okay, this is an educational.
I was sure I was going 5 for 5 though.
You do?
Last week episode.
Was it the first fight? It was pretty even until the guy got choked out. Wait, no, that was the second last fight. We'll talk about it. Yeah. We're not going to talk about it because we have to talk about UFOs and pyramids.
They're 2 separate things to me. You were trying to conflate the two.
Ginormous book. I didn't even read a book that big in high school.
This is Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock. I highly recommend it. It's 500 pages. I was telling CJ before this started.
I figured you'd want to talk about the pyramid because that's all about pyramids.
That is not all about the pyramids. So this book is super complicated.
Okay.
Just like me. Yeah. There's a lot of information here that I won't be able to convey properly, and even the stuff that I do have flagged, I'm going to do a poor job. That's why I'm just going to read it.
That's fine.
I'm going to say all this stuff, and I know people's immediate reactions are going to be like, sounds dumb. I'm just telling everyone to give it a chance because I thought it sounded dumb, and then I read it, and the guy just goes through. If you Google Graham Hancock, all you're going to find is hit pieces on him about how he's a fucking pseudoscientist and all this shit.
Okay.
Where
the fuck is that?
Pseudoscience is like made up shit. Like it's not like... Gotcha. Basically, legit. Here's the problem with anything.
I feel like you're a little far.
Do you want me to slide closer?
Want to scooch in, even though we're like 30 minutes in.
Less than 3 feet apart.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with anything in general. When you have experts who are experts in that field, whether it be physics or Egyptology or pick anything.
Right.
They have a vested interest in defending their thing and it makes sense because I just spent my whole life studying and researching this. And then here comes this guy. Who the fuck is this guy?
Who's denying everything or changing everything?
Not even denying, just pointing out other stuff.
Yeah.
And what held me reading this shit or listening to a lot of him before is I didn't realize, I just assumed that like academia was honest and like researchers and scholars were honest.
Right.
They're not. They're dishonest.
Okay.
They're also right. Like I don't want people to think like I'm saying they're not right or they're wrong. A lot of them are right, but a lot of them can be dishonest in the sense that when they're presented with something that's counter to their point, they often defend it like viciously and will go tooth and nail. And I understand it because it's like, hey, I studied this for 25 years. You got to think about it. I've written books. I've written papers. I'm a PhD. I'm a this. I'm a that. I have a whole fucking resume that goes off of me saying such and such is absolute undeniable fact.
Right. And
then when something comes around to dispute that, I think it's a natural human emotion to be like, fuck, can't be right. Can't be right. My whole life is dedicated to this.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. You can't always be right, and sometimes you're wrong. 100%. And the thing with science is it's always changing, it's always evolving. There's a lot of things now that we used to think were true that aren't true. So you have to be willing to experiment and look at these things. So a lot of the things in this book, I wouldn't call pseudoscience because he references geology. He references astronomy. And he has like real doctors, PhDs, and all these stuff that go and study this stuff and tell you like, hey, just objectively, this is how this feels. So I wanted to like let this spiel out before we dive into what only sounds insane.
Okay.
Only sounds insane. Well, I don't think it does because I read the book.
Yeah.
500 pages. I was telling CJ, I read 250 pages of it in one day. And then I finished the book in like 2 days.
Jesus.
It's a really captivating read. So this is not just about...
It's not just about the pyramids?
It's not about the pyramids. What it uses is pyramids from across the world, like in Peru, Central America, Egypt, basically, this guy's hypothesis is that civilizations on Earth are older than we think they are.
Yes.
He believes that one got wiped out 10 to 12,000 years ago. And what we see with the pyramids and all of these like ancient temples that they can't replicate are fingerprints of those, are the remnants of those civilizations.
Right.
Perhaps there was like a technology transfer, or perhaps these things were in place and then there was global cataclysms to support that. Now, people that aren't familiar with this, there is a lot of evidence, not a lot of evidence. It's basically like people say like climate change is, science has settled that between 12 and 10,000 years ago, the Earth was a incredibly hostile place. The ice age ended extremely rapidly. They're not 100% sure. Some people think it was solar flares. Some think it was asteroidal impacts. But either way, Earth got tilted on its head, basically.
Yeah.
As far as, so anything that was living here at the time was thrown into upheaval. What he uses beyond the science to cite that is when you go through all the ancient cultures of the world, they all have this sort of origin story where the Earth was in turmoil. And like the wolf, like in Scandinavia, the wolf came over the mountain and then it snowed for 200 years, which is evidence of like things like that, like where we just assume like, oh, those are just old mythologies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's also spoken word, so shit could get passed down. There's often lessons in mythologies and stuff like that. I'm also getting off topic. But
what else
I'm just trying to explain what this book is about. So this is 500 pages of this guy building a case for, as opposed to like you were saying, aliens built the pyramids. Not
that.
You were saying that you saw a meme. A lot of people will be like, because we don't know what it is, aliens did it. Or Egyptologists be like, only humans did it, but they did it in this range. This guy just builds a case for, there's a lot of evidence to show that human beings were a lot more technologically advanced, a lot earlier in time than we believe.
Right.
Again, I think we spoke about this many episodes ago. There was a volcano that they think got human beings down to like 120 mating pairs that went off in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that basically almost wiped out the entire species. So if you had even people that were like advanced hunter-gatherers that got killed off, that's a dying off of technology. And that's 70,000 years ago.
Yep.
So this book is about basically human beings are older than we think. Civilizations are older than we think. And here's the evidence to prove that. Again, people can go and Google him. I just would say read it and judge it yourself. Because anything you read is just a hit piece on him. Like I literally tried to Google one thing I was looking for.
Yeah.
And the first thing that came up was from the Scientific American, which is like the headline was like, no, there wasn't an ancient civilization 12,000 years ago.
What?
Okay. What's the reasoning? Just because people say there's no evidence? Well, there's no evidence for a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, how much evidence would be left if we evaporated today? Like if we had a huge solar flare or a asteroid impact, 10,000 years from now, how much evidence is left of all of this technology that we have?
Little to none.
Little to none.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a lot of fucking technology.
That's also a lot of time.
Also, our population is huge, where I would believe back then the population
significantly smaller.
Yeah. So it's easier to wipe out majority.
But even if you have, I don't believe that there was like a 1.7 billion humans walking around this planet. I'm sure that this is like
the
most populated we are.
Like think of how much. Like think of our population size.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everybody has a phone.
Yep.
So there's a higher chance that maybe like one phone out of the millions that are out there could be recoverable.
Yeah.
But back then, the population being so low, there's only a fraction of those phones or whatever the technology is.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Easier to wipe out.
It's more spaced out wherever.
Yeah.
Also back to because talking about climate change, basically the Earth went through a massive climate change between 10 and 12,000 years ago. Right. Basically over that period. Faster at any point in history. So we've never gone from an ice age to no ice age in less than 1,000 years. We did that 12,000 years ago. If like if you look at what's left of Stone Age people, you find occasion like flints, but you don't find the wood.
Yeah.
All that stuff rots, it deteriorates over time.
Gone.
If we're built up with this stuff now, back to your point, like steel and all this shit rots away. Climate change features heavily in this because Egypt at the time was an extremely fertile place. Now it's a fucking desert.
Yeah.
So what are you going to find under the sand? And why would you go and build in the desert? Because it's not a habitable place for humans to live. So how much shit's out there is buried out there? Who knows? Maybe nothing also.
Yeah, could be nothing.
Maybe it's nothing. Maybe this is all bullshit. Maybe it's all wrong.
Yeah.
But why would people start digging in a place where human beings couldn't have lived here for the last 5,000 years? We know that for the geological record. Fair enough.
Yeah.
What about before that when it was habitable? Or a lot of parts of the Mediterranean used to be above sea level. Now they're underwater. Human beings love to live on coasts. We always have. How much shit's underwater that doesn't exist?
Dude.
You know what I mean?
How much shit fucking gets disintegrated by water?
Exactly. Erosion. How much is left of the Roman Empire that existed 2,000 years ago?
Yeah.
The Colosseum was almost destroyed in an earthquake, and that shit's built of stone.
Yeah.
If you go to the Forum in Rome, it's like a couple pillars. It's nothing left.
Yeah.
And that's 2,000 years ago. So why would we assume that all this shit would remain? It all can disappear. If you live in a place where, like, maybe this area could turn into a desert one day.
Yeah.
At one point it was probably 1 million years ago. I mean, shit ebbs and flows. Why wouldn't all this be whacked out?
So
it's just wood.
Does he talk about where the limestone pyramids are?
Mm-hmm. The Giza Plateau.
It used to be like
fully fertile,
like water, fucking trees.
Yeah, that's
grass.
that's why when you talk about ancient civilizations, they always come out of the one place. It's basically the Middle East area.
So here's my thing. So it's kind of weird to think about it. So it could have been fertile when they made it, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. And then what happened? But limestone is it's like cement. So when it gets put in that heat, you know what I mean? Like it's gonna fucking cement even more.
Yeah, but water is more of an indicator as to erosion than just heat. Because
I'm just thinking how it got so fucking dense and hasn't moved. They're pristine.
The reason it hasn't moved is because the stones are 70 tons.
Okay, well,
50 tons.
I meant more so there's barely any damage done to any of them.
Yeah, there's wind erosion.
Yeah.
And there's water erosion on the pyramids, but they were constructed so well. They were literally built to last.
And like you said, so if it was fertile and they were living there and whatever happened, now it's a fucking desert, wiped out however many years ago, whatever they knew with building and construction.
It's gone with the people that built them.
It gone.
Yeah.
So again, for to compare to that, bringing back up that meme where it showed all these crazy monuments that are just almost gone now.
Yeah.
And then the pyramids, why are they still fucking standing? Yeah. And they're even older than the shit that some of these other places. And it's, because the construction that they knew back then and the techniques.
They don't know.
It's gone.
Yeah.
We had to relearn that. Or somebody had to relearn all that shit.
Let's say something really bad happened on Earth today and 25% of the population died. How many people left would know how to build a skyscraper? How many people left would know how to engineer a phone? How many people? It's not people hear this shit and they're like, oh, we would still know how to do it. Really?
No.
Because if someone has that knowledge and dies and isn't able to pass that on, how do we assume that we're going to know how to do it? Now, the counterpoint to that is we can refigure these things out, which I think we have done. I think this book points out a lot of instances where we're a lot of our technologies now are almost rediscovered, latitude and longitude.
Yeah.
The reason he thinks that has been rediscovered is because there's maps from the 1500s and 1400s that depict Antarctica perfectly in position at a spot it was at 5,000 years ago. and then it also perfectly depicts it in its current place. There's 2 maps.
Yeah.
That's how the book opens up. They didn't have latitude and longitude till the 1800s, 1700s, late
Jesus.
1700s. So
They had some
you can look at a map that was drawn 200 years before latitude and longitude existed and take it and look at modern day Antarctica and be like, yep.
There it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just had some other whatever.
They figured out latitude and longitude a long time ago. And the guy that drew these maps said that they were copied off of maps that were much older. This guy was mostly copying them.
The only thing,
and Antarctica also wasn't discovered, I should note, until the 1850s.
Jesus.
But there's maps that are...
So, yeah, you can't say it wasn't found.
Well, it was found...
Somebody
found it at some point.
Yeah.
But in modern history, which we don't think that there's anything beyond modern history, right? So there was 5,000 years ago, we built some pyramids. And then ever since then, human civilization has been basically on a steady upward decline. You have falls of civilization like your Greeks, your Romans, just the main ones, Aztecs, whoever. But basically, human history is 5,000 years old as far as civilizations go.
Gotcha.
But if you ask someone who's like, okay, when was Antarctica discovered? In the 1850s. Well, how can there be a map that's 300 years older showing it exactly where it is in place?
Yeah.
If it wasn't found. Where did that map come from?
Yeah.
Who did he copy it from?
There's
a pretty good guess.
There's definitely land down here, and it looks just like this.
Yeah, it's a pretty good guess. I also just want to just throw this one out there because I'll forget. A lot of this shit isn't just theories. So this book is 500 pages.
Yeah.
There's probably 50 pages of references. So he references all of his points and all that stuff. So it's not just this guy.
He's trying to back himself.
He's trying to back it up his claims as opposed to just being because there is a lot of books out there that are like X, Y, Z happened, and then they draw a lot of conclusions to tie them together.
Well, it's almost like this is my opinion, without saying, trying to just be like, oh, this is what it is. When it's more so their opinion.
This guy's more following the evidence to get to that point.
Correct.
And there's a ton of really crazy math in this, that I would try to explain, but you just have to read it over the course because they slowly break it down and explain to you.
Yeah.
They talk about the precession of the equinoxes, which is the moving of the star alignments.
Okay.
They work on cycles. So they're every 1200 years, and then this many years and that many, and then the whole cycle's 26,000 years.
Jeez.
So a lot of the stuff that you see on the pyramids and shit like that has been taken, they understood that process. So at the very least, there's people watching the stars and calculating them long enough to see them go through their entire section, write it all down, all that shit. So
that's crazy. I do want to go back to the point of you saying if 25% of the population died right now, how many would actually know how to build
any of the shit that we have?
So the only thing that's, again, not going as far back as the pyramids, but to our history that we know, the documentation and the backups. So again, blueprints, those blueprints have hard copies, digital copies.
Yeah.
So it's not unless you're saying all of that shit goes as well.
Well, why? If
we have all that, and again, somebody
stored on data. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody or a group of people can go and dissect the blueprints and can't tell me you can't look at the fucking blueprints and with a team and eventually figure it out, start working small, and then
absolutely.
Boom, oh, this is how they did it. Boom, done.
And the thing is that I believe that a lot of this stuff used to be stored properly on paper. The Library of Alexandria burned down. He talks about this.
Yeah,
where they believe a lot of it, they believe that literally the blueprints to how they built the pyramids could have been stored in there.
100%.
And that shit was accessible 2,000 years ago. Shit burns down, you lose that stuff.
Gone.
Also, we're assuming that this cataclysm, if it's a solar flare, we lose power.
Yeah.
How easily are you accessing all this shit that's backed up? We rely on power to, our memory is stored on computers now.
Yep.
We don't write anything down. We don't store.
Barely.
Of course, there is stuff that's written down, but generally we don't do that. Everything's online.
Yep.
If we lose the power system through a massive solar flare, which is entirely possible, I don't think it's like, I don't think it's anything to be worried about, but it's possible.
Yeah, you can't say it's out of the realms of possibilities.
How do we access all this information? We
Oh,
don't.
100%.
And then once the power is gone, then you can easily lose 20% of the population due to like society collapsing, all that shit.
Yep.
And then how long to get back to where you were before?
All I was saying is that it's...
I know I
like,
agree with you. Yeah.
Back then, it was just like hard copies.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier. Again, paper deteriorates over years.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you don't make another copy 100 years from now, that might not even be legible.
Sure.
Down the road.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like with our digital copies, as long as nothing happens to those and somebody has access to them, or again, there's so many people that know how to hack into shit and do whatever, that we could hack into wherever and get those documents if ever needed. It's not like if this dude is gone.
Yeah, it's not like that so much. Yeah.
Where again, you go farther back, it almost gets to
also, but
to
also, I mean, we're assuming that 12,000 years ago, and I think it's a leap to say that, if there wasn't a civilization that we're not aware of that's older than our current time, I think it's a leap to say that they had cell phones and stuff, but they might have had technology that was as advanced, just differently.
100%.
They might not have been using fossil fuels to burn off their shit. They might have been doing other things.
Yeah,
that,
they could have something eco-friendly.
Who knows?
And we lost that technology when they died.
Yeah. I'm going to start reading a port here.
Yeah. Let's dive into the book. We've only been talking about the book, not actually what's in it.
Not actually what's in it. Let me find this part here.
I'm very intrigued on this.
I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this, and I'm not selling this book very well, but I do encourage everyone to go out and read it.
You've sold it to me, so at least you sold it to somebody.
Sold it to one person.
Yeah.
So, this is the first point. The Giza Plateau contains the 3 pyramids of Giza. The Great Pyramid, then there's 2 smaller ones, and the Sphinx are all located on this thing. Not far further down the road in Saqqara are the Saqqara tombs and pyramids.
Okay.
And they were built after, supposedly, the Giza Plateau. So they were built in the 3rd, 5th, and 6th dynasties. Sozer's Step Pyramid at Saqqara in the 3rd dynasty was an imposing edifice, but it was built with relatively small, manageable blocks that 5 or 6 men working together could carry, and its internal chambers were structurally unsound. The pyramids of the 5th and 6th dynasties, although adorned with beautiful pyramid tests, were so poorly built that they had collapsed to rubble. The 4th dynasty pyramids at Giza, however, were wonderfully well made. These are the ones that are still standing. So
were those small, the ones that weren't made great?
Yeah.
Those were made before, after Giza.
Okay, so in this is the time frame that if you Google when were the pyramids built,
okay,
this is the conventional time frame. So you have the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th dynasties. The 3rd is the oldest, the 6th is the youngest.
Okay.
So you have pyramids here that are currently rubble, literally.
Yeah.
There's photos of them this is from the 90s, but you can look at them now.
Yeah.
That are currently rubble. You have ones that are built 100 years before the Giza Plateau, 200 years after, and 100 years after, and they are all rubble, all made with tiny stones.
Okay.
And in the middle of this thing, somehow we managed to build these massive things, and then we never did it ever again.
Yeah.
It doesn't make much sense.
No, it doesn't.
So, yeah, sorry. A lot of this shit's going to be out of context, so
sure.
There's a context for that. So, the pyramids of the 5th and 6th dynasties, although adorned with beautiful pyramid texts, were so poorly built and had completely collapsed that today most of them amount to little more than mounds of rubble. The 4th dynasty pyramids of Giza, which is the main ones that everyone knows, however, were wonderfully made and had well endured the passage of thousands of years or more or less intact. It is this sequence of events, or rather implications, that John Anthony West felt that Egyptologists should have paid more attention to. There's a discrepancy in the scenario that reads, building kind of rubbishy pyramids that are structurally unsound, and then suddenly building absolutely unbelievable pyramids that are structurally and the most incredible things ever conceived of, and then immediately afterwards going back to structurally unsound pyramids.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
No,
I didn't know that they fell into those periods of time until I read this book.
Yeah, that's super weird, because you'd think it would be that the pyramids of Giza would be either prior to
They would be
all
their
of them?
own time, you would think.
Like prior to all
Yeah.
of those or after all those, somewhere there. It
Mhm.
would make sense if they were before, because like you said, if it was a flourishing land, now it's a fucking desert. That could have happened, wiped out everybody there, and now these other people find their way. And
It
they're
makes
like,
more sense that they were
oh,
built
look at this.
many, many years
Let's try
before.
to remake
Exactly.
this.
Yeah.
They try to remake it, and it's absolute dog shit.
The evidence points more to that than it does that we built these shitty pyramids, then we built the most amazing things ever built,
And
then we built shitty
ones
pyramids again. Oh, by the way, we've never made good pyramids ever since then, including today.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. That
Another
just
thing in this book, which I
absolutely
could not
doesn't
find,
make sense.
and I think I mentioned it last week, a lot of the stones that make up the base of the I'm just going to refer to the Giza pyramids because those are the ones that everyone knows. So the Giza Plateau, those stones are 70, 50 tons. Some of them are more manageable size that you get, but most of them are 10 tons. In 1994, when this book was written, there was only 2 cranes on the planet that could do 70 tons. So it's not like we're talking about stones like these other pyramids are made of where you and a handful of buddies can lift them up, get them into place.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That looks good. These stones are basically immovable even by today's standards.
Yeah.
And they're placed perfectly within less than a paper's width thing. And they've literally withstood the test of time. And they're supposed to be 5,000 years old.
Do they know what happened to the land? Like why it became a desert?
Because of what transpired in the 10, 12,000 years between that. Also climate change.
But there was like no like crazy event
No.
that they know of?
Not that they know of. So there's again, like I was saying before, there's different theories. Some people think a massive solar flare, which I think it was one of the geologists in this book. He theorized that lightning would have been landing like rain. How many people survived something like that?
Jesus.
Like that's how bad. Like there was a solar flare in the 1800s that destroyed the telecommunication cable underneath the Atlantic Ocean, fried it. So what's Morse code?
Morse code, yeah.
So that line that was laid on the ocean.
How the fuck did they lay that?
With a boat, they make the cable and
fucking
you make a
just
huge
drop
reel.
it.
Yeah. Same way it is now. Like they have like huge internet cables that run across the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean.
That is wild.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, that got fried in the 1800s in the Clarington event where they said that you could be outside and read the paper without any light. It was that bright in the sky. And this is written in the New York Times. Like this is modern history.
Yeah.
This is in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Like human beings remember this shit. This isn't like something like, oh, we theorize. Like this shit's written in newspapers.
Happened.
Yeah, this happened.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that was a minor solar flare, and that fucked up shit for a long time in the 1800s.
That is crazy.
So
okay, so
anyway, so you could have a massive solar flare that could lead to things like lightning storms that lightning lands like rain. How many people and how many things are going to be destroyed by that? Also, there's a lot of asteroid impacts, particularly in southern Ontario, weirdly enough, that are in the same 10 to 12,000 year range, where they think that there might have been a bunch of comet impacts throughout the world that trigger the melting of the ice caps. Because just the melting of the ice caps alone leads to a huge shift in climate. Just that alone.
That's so like highly possible because when you got to think when an asteroid comes in, when it's flying in, shit's breaking off of it left, right, and center.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me it's not. It's a fucking rock.
Yeah. Moving at high speed.
Yeah, shit is flying off of it. So when it breaks the atmosphere and shit fucking breaks off, surely enough, it's got to hit somewhere else.
Yeah,
and not just one other piece.
But also these things, you could have been in a bad period where you could have had a pretty serious comet or asteroidal impact. It could happen every 500 years.
Yeah.
And be enough to fuck up the thing. In Oregon, there's you know when you are at the edge of a lake and the water goes out and it retreats and it leaves the ripples in the sand and they're really small.
Yeah.
In Oregon, there's ripples like that are hundreds of feet high. And from the sky, you see the ripples, but when you're there, it just looks like hills in the landscape. And that's from when the ice age that's when the ice caps melted in the in this time period, the 10 to 12,000 year range.
Right.
And the water rushed over the landscape all the way down to Oregon, which is south of us, and then retreated and left those ripples, which are still standing there, and moved mounds of earth.
Holy
so think of the damage caused in that alone.
Yeah.
So it's basically the climate changes all the time. This isn't an anti-climate thing. It's just a fucking fact. Climate changes all the time. It changes over 1,000 years. It can change over 100 years. It can change over 12,000 years. At one point, Middle East, Nile Valley were extremely fertile. They call it the Fertile Crescent because like the Sumerian culture came out of there, which they believe is the oldest modern civilization at 6,000 years. All comes out of this area because at the time it was a perfect storm of fertile, stable climate, all these things check all the boxes where like you would need a civilization to thrive. Comes out of this area. But then climate change happens and now it's a fucking desert.
Yeah.
You cannot start a civilization from scratch today in this area.
No.
But modern technologies and civilizations can survive due to that. But now...
No, you can't. Or back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those dummies out there,
Like
solar flare.
the sun spits out like radiation, basically.
Oh, fuck.
All the time. Like these happen, like the Northern Lights is basically solar flares.
Okay.
They're very minor.
Yeah.
It's like, it's shit from the sun interacting with our magnetic field and puts lights out there.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you can have them like a coronal mass ejection that could cook the planet.
Yeah.
I don't think like that's gonna happen. I'm not trying to like be a doomsdayer.
Oh,
But like these are things
buddy, it's
that
not out of the realms of possibility.
you got that big ball of fire, anything can happen.
Yeah. Like, fuck.
So, this one I may be in a wrong spot.
Dude,
so-
we are in a fucking simulation.
for sure. I told you we were.
Like, what?
Yeah. No question. Any of this shit makes sense?
No, like I just started. You're like the big ball of fire, and I'm like
It is a big ball of fire.
It is.
Yeah.
Like,
And we're all just like, oh, it's the sun.
like what?
We're a little rock that actually a gigantic rock that orbits around a ball of fire. So far away, it's 8 minutes away, light years.
Yeah.
So if the sun went out right now, it would take us 8 minutes to figure that out. And it's so big and so bright that you can't look at it, or else your eyes will be burned out of your fucking head.
Yeah. You fucking.
And we're just like, it's just the solar system. It's just the solar system. None of this shit makes any sense.
That's fucking wild.
And me saying that doesn't mean I don't believe in current science. Big Bang, sure. Like whatever you guys got that's saying this is it. But also, maybe it's fucking in a computer somewhere.
Yeah,
like maybe all of this science exists just in a computer.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. What the fuck?
Okay, so this is about the Sphinx, which is located at the same site of the 3 pyramids.
Okay.
This one is more to do with the stars in the sky, because the main theory about the pyramids placement, the Egyptologists say that the pyramids were built for 3 dynasties, 3 kings. The dad built one, then literally the son built one, and then the grandson built one.
Gotcha.
One's the big one, one's the middle one. That's literally
yeah.
what they say it is. The 3 pyramids are aligned perfectly on Orion's belt. So the pyramids were probably built as an actual mirror image of the stars in the sky.
We're in a simulation.
No question. So
what the fuck?
The Sphinx faces perfectly due east. There's a reason for that, is because in the night sky, all the constellations was the word I was looking for earlier, kind of set against that. They face east in this part of the world.
Okay.
Also, the sun rises directly there. So you have, as the night goes down, you have the constellations come down. They become perfectly in line with due east, and then the sun comes up behind it. You know what I mean? Like as the night transfers over.
Yeah.
So when you have something that's facing that way, like it's to like signify that. So feel free to talk for a second while I just find
You
this.
gotta find it. Dude, this shit blows my mind.
Okay. All right, here we go.
And the fact that like nobody talks about this shit, like it's very rarely talked about. Like even like the fucking UFO shit that's coming out of the Pentagon. Like I saw it for a little bit, like because of Joe Rogan, because he posted on his Instagram because he just had some dude on. But other than that, like I haven't seen shit.
Yeah.
I saw one other video, but it could have been like it. To me, it looked not real.
Now you're getting into the doldrums of Instagram. Or like this is from like fucking...
Yeah, it was like you saw this fucking like aircraft fly through the sky and then all these fucking fighter jets just come out of nowhere. It's like, okay, sure.
So this next part I'm going to read is, it's going to sound strange and out of context. One, because it is. It's on page 456 of the book. Up until this point, the precessions of the equinoxes and constellations and locations and all these things, you kind of have a very rough understanding of. But it's important for this part. So this is in reference to the Sphinx. So...
You lose it again?
No, I'm just trying to find if the part before it helps it at all. It doesn't appear to. Why should an equatorial marker have been made in the form of a lion? That's referring to the Sphinx pointing exactly due east. I looked down on the slope of the Giza Plateau towards the great lion and body of the Sphinx. Khafre, the 4th dynasty pharaoh believed by Egyptologists to have carved the monument out of bedrock around 2500 BC, had been a monarch in the age of Taurus for almost 1800 years before his reign and more than 300 years after. The sun on the vernal equinox rose unfailingly in the constellation of the Bull. So the constellations will be prominent in the sky for like a 2100 year period. And the full like 12 cycles is like 26,000 years or something like that.
Gotcha.
Just as a little reference for what the fuck he's talking about. It follows that if the monarch at such a time had set out to create an equinautical marker at Giza, he would have had every reason to have carved it in the form of a bull and none whatsoever to have carved it in the form of a lion. Indeed, and it was so obvious that there was only one epoch when the celestial symbolism of a lion and equatorial marker would have been appropriate. That epoch, of course, was the age of Leo, from the year 10,970 to 880 BC. So 6,000 to 8,000 years earlier.
Jesus.
The Sphinx, which is carved in the form of a lion, was facing the constellation of Leo. And all of this shit is about the stars, like ancient people and stuff like that. You can see in the Aztecs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's not even like anything to do with this book. Like they were obsessed with the sky.
Yeah.
Why, therefore, should an equatorial marker have been made in the shape of a lion? Because it was made in the age of Leo, when the sun on the vernal equinox rose against the stellar background of the constellation of the Lion, thus marking the coordinates of the precessional epoch that would have experienced its great return for another 26,000 years. Around 10,450 BC, the 3 stars of Orion's belt reached the lowest point in their precessional cycle, west of the Milky Way, 11 degrees, 8 feet, above the southern hemisphere at Mediterranean transit. So that's a lot of gobbledygook that doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but the stars kind of rise and fall as we move throughout the universe. So basically what this guy's saying is that at the exact same time that the Sphinx was facing Leo, Orion's belt, which the 3 pyramids are exact perfect representation of on planet Earth, were at their lowest point that they would be for like 15,000 years. Is that a coincidence?
So they would have been bit, like the stars would have looked big.
Huge, yeah. And right now they're at their furthest point. Where we live right now, they're at their furthest point.
Okay.
But as like times go on, like there's been points in human history where the stars have been really close and looked really big. Close is obviously they're so far away.
Yeah.
But they would have been in a different and brighter spot in the sky.
Got you.
For like thousands of years.
Yeah.
Until they like slowly move off. And that's
wild.
Literally what happens. So around 10,450 BC, the sun rose on the vernal equinox, rose in the constellation Leo. On the ground at Giza, this event was frozen into architectural in the shape of the Sphinx, a gigantic lion equinautical marker, which, like the second signature of an official document, could be taken as a confirmation of authenticity. So obviously he's drawn a line there because you can never have absolute proof. They don't have absolute proof that the Sphinx was carved out of bedrock 5,000 years ago. He's saying the Sphinx was probably in place 12,000 years ago. Basically double what it is now.
Yeah. And
the reason he's using that is because a lot of the shit, and this is, again, out of context, and it makes sense when you've read up to this point, a lot of the stuff that they did in the past is they use these constellations as markers. So if you're in the age of Leo, a lot of the shit has to do with lions. If you're in Taurus, for example, bulls, very prominent.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. So he's just drawing the line of, why is one makes sense and the other one doesn't
Yeah.
in this one period of time. So it's fucking crazy to
It's
me.
fucking wild, dude. Like, I don't know. This whole shit just fucking blows my mind. And again, like, how it's not discussed more, I guess, in like normal society, I should say, because it's probably discussed more than.
Just comes down to your interest level, I think.
Yeah, but even just like, I don't know. We're in a simulation and they're trying to fucking hide it from us.
I don't think the simulation has anything to do with people hiding it. I think it's just natural human arrogance. We said the pyramids are 5,000 years old, therefore they can only be 5,000 years old. There's no evidence for an ancient civilization that could have built the pyramids, so therefore there was no ancient civilization.
Got you.
That's what it is to me.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think there's some
That kind of makes sense.
I think it's just natural human tendency to do that. Like I was saying before. If you've studied something, if you study something for 20 years and then all of a sudden tomorrow
Somebody's
it's different,
like, fuck no.
your back's going to get up against a wall.
Yeah.
Whether you want it to or not, it's natural, right? The other thing that I couldn't find, but it is in here and you can Google his name, Dr. Robert Schoch was in this book. And he was a geologist that was brought out by a guy named John Anthony West, who's now dead, to study the watermarks on the Sphinx and date them. So
how the fuck?
He's a geologist.
That is wild.
He's a geologist
Holy
from Harvard.
shit.
So if you want to talk about credentials, he's a teacher at Harvard. He's a PhD geologist. He was a world-renowned guy in the early 90s.
Yep.
Wasn't a crackpot. A guy brought him out to examine the Sphinx and just tell him what he thinks. He said that the damage on the Sphinx is water erosion and not from wind and all that stuff and sand. He's like, there is evidence of that, but the vast majority is from heavy waterfall on the Sphinx back. Last time there was heavy waterfall in the Nile Valley was 10 and 12,000 years ago. So in order for that much rainfall to exist, to erode the Sphinx would have had to be there 5,000 years before they said it was even carved out of stone.
But hold on, it was only there 5,000 years
and that's a guy using geology, his understanding of erosion. He's a fucking teacher at Harvard to this day.
Yeah.
And he just goes and objectively looks at it and goes, this thing was here 12,000 years ago because the last time we had this much rain to cause this damage on this was 12,000 years ago.
Well, that's the thing.
And then Egyptologists just go, well, that can't be because it was carved in 2500 BC.
Yeah.
And therefore it's like what the fuck?
Yeah, that's so stupid. Because again, like erosion's not going to happen with a few rainfalls throughout the year. Like that shit needs to be falling.
It needs, the erosion that was consistent on it is like the amount of rainfall that we would have on a yearly basis here.
Yeah.
So it would be like, although it's warm in a temperate climate, you have X amount of rain a year where you would see on a stone carving X amount of erosion.
Yeah.
Minimal over time.
There's a place, like a museum or some shit, and it's got like a rock that's like, we'll just say like under 50 years, and it's got a steady stream dropping on it. And then you see one that's had it for like 50 plus years, and you can see like a small little like path that it's making.
Okay, yeah.
And then again, you got one that's even older than that, and it's got like full out fucking like creeks in the fucking rock.
Here's a good one. The Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
That was a riverbed. A river used to flow through the Grand Canyon. That's why it looks like that.
Yeah.
So that's what water can do.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and they can mark it like that same guy, Robert Schoch, can go to the Grand Canyon and be like, the Grand Canyon is this old, and people are like, wow, great job. We believe you.
Yeah.
But then when he goes to Egypt and says this thing's this old, they're like, you're a motherfucker.
You're a liar.
You're a fucking conspiracy theorist. It's like, dude, I'm just using the same shit.
The same shit I told you guys about the Grand Canyon.
The problem with Egyptology in general is that a lot of it is built off of academia and people congratulating themselves.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of evidence that supports a lot of their claims. They have built this framework of things happen between this time period and that period, and they make everything fit that period, and they don't adjust to science like, well, the Sphinx has a water erosion from 12,000 years ago on it. How could that be? Oh, it's just wind and water. Well, this geology says it, but you're not a geologist. Oh, but I can tell you. You know?
I didn't know he was a geologist too.
Exactly. It's arrogance.
Studies
right?
in his on his weekends.
I just want to find what this part was about.
Yeah, I think this whole.
What's your first thoughts initially? Does it sound like psychobabble bullshit? Or you? But you're also more inclined to believe this shit.
Yeah, like I after hearing like, so I don't know what I can't remember what the actual time frame was, but it's like 200 years prior, they made shit fucking pyramids. It's all rubble.
Mm-hmm.
Then they make these fucking outstanding ones, but then 200 years after that,
it's even less than that too. It's less than 100 years.
Those are fucking rubble.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me they
were made the same time.
In less than 100 years, you made outstanding pyramids and then made absolute dog shit. Like
we made the Eiffel Tower 150 years ago.
Even if it was smaller, it should have been done. It should have been just as good, but in smaller form.
Sure.
And it should have been put up way faster because they had the
they already know how to do it.
Technology and construction to make these fucking ginormous things.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me you can't make a tiny version of it?
It's ridiculous.
Is there an entrance into the pyramids?
Yes.
Have they explored the entire pyramid?
Yeah, they actually, this isn't in the book because this book's 30 years old.
Yeah.
He's also written 2 follow-up books to this, which I haven't read yet.
Yeah.
But it's more evidence for the ancient civilization.
Okay.
But they just discovered some like new passage or like part of the Great Pyramid of Giza that they've never experienced, like seen before.
So, like in there's definitely like hieroglyphs. What the drawings on the wall and shit.
There's not.
There's nothing.
No, there's only one marking on there in the Great Pyramid. It says Kafare, which is the entire evidence base for Egyptologists to say that this was built by Kafare. Whereas if you go to like the tombs of Saqqara, those pyramids
what if he was just a little shit and he visited there and fucking carved his name in it?
That's exactly right. Also, what you can see in the Pyramid of Giza among the other hieroglyphics is the people that dug out that tunnel in the 1700s, wrote their names on the wall. Like the only reasonable markings that show anyone's been there are the people that were actually there.
Yeah.
And who wrote their name on the wall. But the one that the Egyptologists say that this was built by so-and-so is Kafare in the 4th dynasty because his name's there. But you can go to tombs in Saqqara, these pyramids that are now dust, and the amount of shit that's written in there about who definitely did this and all the stuff, it's like clear as day. Like you walk in, the walls are just filled. I built this. This is for me. This is for my wife. This is for my son. None of that shit's in the Great Pyramid except for one little marking of a fucking ancient pharaoh who probably wanted to write his name on there to basically say Kafare was here, or I'm claiming this for myself.
Yeah,
we don't know why he wrote it there.
Yeah, you don't.
We don't know why he wrote it there. They were supposed to be tombs. Like that's what the pyramids are. The Egyptologists say they were tombs and tombs only. They were built as tombs.
Yeah, but did they find?
No. They never found any mummies there. They never found any indications of burial chambers. Egyptologists say, well, there was grave robbers. Okay, sure. But the tombs...
Dude, you can't tell me they stole everything. Those things are huge.
They didn't steal the hieroglyphs off the wall that wrote, so-and-so's fucking buried here.
Yeah, because if they did that at the other place, like, I'm sorry.
You can go on YouTube right now and watch people that walk through the Great Pyramid. There's nothing... Like, there's shit on the walls.
I'm going to watch this.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly entertained.
Most likely, the pyramids were built as a representation of Orion's belt on planet Earth. There's a ton of stuff in here that I can't get to.
Dude.
But
500 pages. He
talks about precise locations, mathematics, pi, all this shit, like that back up this claim.
Pie.
Yeah, it's delicious. If you're into that sort of thing. He talks about all that stuff that sort of backs up these claims. So pyramids were built as a representation of the stars above.
Yeah.
Same with the Sphinx. Literally pointing towards the age of Leo all the time. In these chambers within the pyramids, there's a lot of these shafts that they called ventilation shafts. Modern people called ventilation shafts. There's a good chance that these things were built as when the stars were in a certain location, you could view them from within the pyramid, or they would illuminate light within the pyramid. They don't know. He doesn't know, and he doesn't claim to know.
Yeah.
But there's more evidence that shows that these things weren't just ventilation shafts and a queen and king's chamber as burial tombs, even though There's no bodies have been built there.
Yeah.
There's one thing in the middle of the king's chamber that's a sarcophagus that was carved out with tools that they don't know how they did it to this day. That you can see scratch marks like as if there was blades turning or whatever. Like they weren't chiseled out. They were with machines. You can see marks from blades. But yeah, like
aliens.
There's a ton of not aliens, it's humans. It's us. It's us.
We're aliens.
To other people, not to us.
They fucking did some DNA shit. We're a fucking science project that got left on Earth. And they're like, let's just leave them here and see what happens. But first, let's build some shit and fuck with their heads.
No, I think it was us. I think we're just older than what we give ourselves credit for.
Well, and
fossils are extremely rare.
We talked about it like a while ago. It's been a while since we talked about like life simulation and all this shit. But I do believe that we're old. I agree with you that we are older than what we think we are. But again, like having let's say there was a solar flare that wiped out the entire plain of Giza, like that whole area.
It wasn't. So that area isn't the location of the apocalypse. What this book is saying is that
you can't tell me there aren't people like living close to there. No, or whatever.
And there still were
not living in the pyramids per se, but
it's more complicated than just like this happened here and then everybody died and then they don't know what happened. It's like there's evidence for a civilization like ours gets wiped out. Who survives apocalypses? Hunter-gatherer tribes.
Yep.
Who's going to survive when we're gone? Hunter-gatherer tribes.
Yep.
What are they going to tell as their oral history or thing? 25 years ago, there was lots of booms in the sky. Heat was everywhere. Destroyed everything. People were too arrogant. You know, they could be referring to nuclear bombs. They could be referring to a fucking solar wave.
Whatever.
But they're going to tell it in a mythical fashion because they don't know themselves what happened. But it doesn't mean that what they're telling isn't true.
Yeah. So again, like the whole thing with that, like I think we got dropped here and then whatever, like the story gets moved on. And as it gets passed on, things get twisted and animated so that it seems cooler or more exciting to younger generations that may show no interest. So to try to get them interested, you skew a little things. You make it almost like your story, and then sooner or later, like
it's the classic game of broken telephone.
It's almost like it's like 20% true.
Mm-hmm. There was one point that I left out that was glaringly obvious with regards to human beings. A lot of symbolism comes from the current constellation that we're currently in. We're in the age of Pisces, I believe, which is the fish. What's the symbol for Jesus? Fish, right?
Is it?
You know Jesus fish on cars and stuff like that?
No.
Okay. Well, everyone out there that's listening knows exactly what I'm talking about, except weirdly you. Jesus fish are a thing like people put on their cars, and they're in the shape of Pisces, the constellation.
Okay.
Because it's the constellation of a fish. So in the 2,000-year period that we're currently in, from just before Jesus, which is currently weirdly how we mark our current time that we're in. Everything is BC and then BCE, right? So from 2,000 years up until now, we're in the age of Pisces, and every representation of the most prominent figure that's dominated most of Western culture is Jesus.
Yeah.
He comes in the representation of a fish. So why wouldn't shit that they were building in other time frames be represented to that, back to the Sphinx being carved in the age of Leo is basically what that's pointing to.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry, I just left that part out.
How dare you?
I know.
Idiot.
I got one last point, and then we can talk about the alien shit. Because that's where I don't want to conflate these two.
I think we saved the alien shit for a whole different episode.
Well, we can conflate because I feel like you're conflating the two things.
Well, I'm just bringing them.
Yeah, I want everyone to read this.
Colliding both.
Yeah,
I want to steal that from you.
I want everyone to read this. Is what I want. Okay, so just a rough little hypothesis. The hypothesis proposes that what the enigmatic structures on the Giza Plateau are all about. Number one, the Great Sphinx is indeed, as we have argued in previous chapters, an equinoctial marker of the age of Leo, indicating a date in our own chronology. of between 10,000 and 88 to 10 BC. The three principal pyramids are indeed laid out in relation to the Nile Valley to mimic the precise depositions of the three stars of Orion's belt, in relation to the course of the Milky Way in the year 10,450 BC. This is a pretty effective means of specifying the epoch of the 11th millennium BC by using the phenomenon of the precession, which again has been covered extensively up until this point. This is like the last 5 pages of the book, which have been rightly described as the only true clock of our planet. So they use the epochs as like a gauge for when like certain things happened,
Right.
based on the location of the stars. And because it always is on a constant loop, you can use it effectively.
Yeah.
And when he said that part, only true clock of our parent, was in quotations because that was marked by like astronomers say that shit. So it's not like his words.
Yeah.
Confusingly, however, we also know that the Great Pyramid incorporates star shafts locked into Orion's belt in Sirius around 2450 BC. This hypothesis revolves around the anomaly of the missing years by supposing the star shafts to be merely the later work of some long-lived cult that originally laid out the Giza ground plan around 10,400. So this part is going to be too confusing. But anyway, you got to go back and read it. But
it's a lot of information, though, to fucking condense into
a
small time.
Well, that's just the pyramids. He talks about the ones in Peru and Central America as well.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I love this shit.
I don't agree with the time frame that's been given. Like that the Giza Pyramids are... you fucking with it?
I did.
Jesus.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Like I don't think the Giza Pyramids were built in between the other two.
Just based on that.
Those two were built close together.
Yeah.
And then Giza was either made years before that.
Look at all the amazing shit we've built in the last 300 years.
Yeah.
We didn't forget how to build those things. Like if we wanted to build the Eiffel Tower tomorrow, we could build it. They did it in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a bit of a joke. But if
they
wanted to build an exact replica using the same materials of the Eiffel Tower, they could do that right now.
Yeah.
It appears that in Egypt, in the early 2500 BC, they forgot how to build the same shit out of the same materials in less than 100 years from each other. It doesn't make a ton of sense.
So the other pyramids were also built with limestone?
I believe they were built just not necessarily wrong. I'd have to double check. I don't want to say yes or
with
no.
The same material?
Same materials,
Gotcha.
but they were built in a much more manageable structure. Like I can show you photos of these things. It literally looks like piles of rubble. Let me find them.
But
so there's the Great Pyramid of Giza, and there's one that was built 100 years before it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I'm just going to show the camera that. I hope
I'll put it up on. I can put it up. I'll put it up in the video. It's fine.
So the geometric perfection of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, almost 500 feet higher and supposedly built by the 4th dynasty pharaoh Khafre around 2550 BC. Amongst other functions of the Great Pyramid, was designed to serve as a math. That's going to get confusing if I read that out, but it's fascinating.
That shit is fucking... It's crazy.
So below, the crumbling, dilapidated ruin of the nearby pyramid of Sahur, a 5th dynasty pharaoh who reigned around 2450 BC. How is it possible to account for such a spectacular decline in building standards and engineering expertise in a period of barely than a century? And again, just reflate that to what we have now. We could build the Eiffel Tower. We could build Big Ben.
Yeah.
We can build all these things that we built in the last 400 or 500 years. They're not foreign to us how we would go about doing that. St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, the Vatican. And then we can build the World Trade Center, like the current one.
Yeah.
And the ones that fell before, like massive engineering things.
Yeah.
We know how to build this shit. In addition to the shit that was built before it. But now we're supposed to believe that they forgot how to build this stuff less than 100 years later and earlier.
Yeah.
I don't think that makes much sense.
Did they say where they were, like where they got all the materials?
They do in the book, and I would be guessing if I was to label it.
But they do mention
they
like
mention
how they
all
got
of
all
that.
the...
Yeah, they mention where, well, because it's geology, right? So you can go, this piece of rock came out of this quarry.
Yeah.
At the time frame is sketchy.
Yeah, but it's pretty fucking, like it's pretty close.
It's not as accurate as you think because it's stone.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure my brother-in-law is shitting on me, but whatever. You're a student of geology. Shut the fuck up. Read a book. They talk about all that. I'm not going to do a good. Obviously, not doing it justice talking about it.
Curious.
But that was the one part that I really, really wanted to find, which I told you because I just Googled it right before we started. The Great Pyramid of Giza's 2.3 million stones make up that pyramid.
That's wild.
There's that pyramid was supposedly built over 20 years. Again, in short 3 to 6 month windows, based on some sort of weather and like harvest pattern. According to Egyptologists, there's a part in this book where the guy talks about, okay, let's use the current numbers that they have, 2.3 million stones divided by X amount of working days, 4 stones per minute. And these
4 stones a minute.
4 stones a minute.
At 10, what was the weight of them?
70 tons, some of them.
70 tons.
50 tons, 10 tons. In such a good spot that you can't get a piece of paper in between them. So you have to land 4 of those stones per minute in order to meet that timeline.
Holy fuck.
And again, I wish I found in the book, and I'll probably try to find it before next week's episode just to back up what I'm saying.
It was built in a computer program.
No, it was built by humans.
That's easy to... Yeah. So was the simulation. So yes, the pyramids were built by humans. Somebody fucking did it in fucking the Unreal Engine.
You are right. Anyway, I did a terrible job of explaining this, but I hope it was interesting enough for people to go out and look it up on themselves.
I might just have to get me that book.
Take it with you. It's great.
Well, you just might not get it back for years because I'm not the fastest reader.
I want to reread it.
Well, yeah, I'll get my own.
Buy your own book. Everyone go out and buy that fucking book.
Yeah. Okay, let's get caught up on Chris Predicts. Chris Predicts. Dun, 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 dun.
Wizardry, definitely. Yeah, I'm just bringing up UFC 263. So last week, I made a couple predictions. I was Bilal Muhammad. Oh, no, Jamal Hill had his arm broken by Paul Craig, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the second fight of the night.
Yes. So I had predicted that Jamal Hill, Bilal Muhammad, Leon Edwards, Figueiredo, can't pronounce the name, I'm sorry, and Israel Adesanya would win. I got 3 out of 5 right. I'm very disappointed in that number. I feel like I really felt like I had this one.
Yo, can I just bring this up? Why the fuck didn't the ref stop that fight with the dude's broken
arm snapped in half?
One, so where the camera was, you could clearly see where the ref was, which was the same side as the camera, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
This man's arm, you literally see it hyperextend and like pop.
Problem is, if the ref was looking anywhere else when that moment happened, you could easily miss it.
But then you see the man's arm dead and just flailing around. Like, are you kidding me?
Anyway, so I lost that bet. I went 3 for 5. Whatever.
Pretty good.
Not bad.
Could have been better.
I feel like I should be getting 4 out of 5, but it's fighting.
Dude, you know? It's
fucking life, bro.
Yeah, well, it is fucking fighting, so anything could happen.
And I lost the Betway boost as well. The one that I was trying to get you to bet $15,000 on.
Oh my God, Chris. All night it was like he was in a Ponzi scheme and he was trying to be the greatest salesman. He was trying to get me to invest 15 grand.
How did I do?
Fucking terrible.
I thought, no, I know I did terrible.
I was almost
selling you.
No, you weren't. You sold me on the idea of trying to bring more people in on it. So I kept trying to sell it to other people.
Oh, I see.
With you. I started partnering up without investing anything.
All right, enough of that shit. Anyway, 3 out of 5.
That is what it is.
Whatever.
Okay, so how are we doing the rest of the playoffs?
Okay, so I predicted that the Golden Knights would win their series. They were the underdog. They won.
Fuck you.
They won in 7 games. It says 6 games. I don't think it was 6 games. I'm pretty sure it was 7 games.
Okay.
I also said that the Bruins would beat the Islanders, and that Carolina would beat Tampa, and that Winnipeg would beat Montreal. So I was 1 for 4.
Yeah.
It was a pretty rough outing.
That's unlucky.
I'll be honest. But I think I spoke about this either last week or the week before. 2 out of 3 of those bets were purely based on the numbers. I didn't like the odds.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It is what it is.
Your new predictions are as followed, and I bet these before these series started. Right now, the series are currently undergoing.
Yeah,
but I've
didn't
already
Vegas
bet
and
these.
Montreal already have their first game? Like,
so is the Islanders
yesterday or
and
some shit
so
like
have
that?
the Islanders and Tampa.
gotcha.
I bet the New York Islanders to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay.
They are currently winning 1-0 in the series.
Okay. And again, for everybody,
These bets were before the series
these
started.
bets have already been put in.
I also bet. So
We're just updating.
I will make this caveat because it's important for these. Again, back to the odds. I bet the Islanders because I think the most Toronto Maple Leaf thing to do ever is to lose in the first round after being up 3-1 to Montreal. And then your former GM take his team to the Stanley Cup final.
Gotcha.
The New York Islanders.
Okay.
So I bet them for that reason.
Okay.
Also, they were $3.25. It was like $1.25 on
we got
Tampa.
You need to start betting the teams you actually think.
I think the Islanders are actually going to win.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, we got the benefit of good odds.
Let's fucking do it.
So there's...
I like good odds.
It's 3-1 on the Islanders, and they're currently winning. I bet the Vegas Golden Knights to win in 6 games because their odds just to win straight up were shit.
Okay.
So I bet them on a specific game count because it was like $1.25 we would get back, so we would win 25 cents on dollar bet.
Yeah.
I think Vegas is going to win that series. They could win it in sooner than 6, but I just figured...
And they're up 1-0?
They're up 1-0.
Yeah.
So Vegas and New York Islanders is your Stanley Cup final, and the Vegas Golden Knights, and again, in the most Leaf fashion, a team that's only been around for fucking 3 years, is going to win the Stanley Cup. That's my prediction for this week.
I like it.
It's fucking bullshit.
I saw one of the guys I follow on social media, big hockey guy, Howie sent him an air freshener. The packet, it came in a fucking package, like a box. One little air freshener came with a roll of bubble wrap with the air freshener sitting on top. Why didn't you just send the air freshener in an envelope? Like, are you fucked? But he goes, I know I have a great place to hang this. And he's got a Toronto Maple Leafs like thumb or like finger. He goes, I'm going to just hang it up over here because this team stinks.
Yeah.
It's like,
fair enough.
Fair.
We do.
They do, yeah. I don't play on the team, so I don't stink.
Next year, I'll be as excited. I'll get my hopes up all over again.
Yeah, me
right
too.
Right now, I seem pretty bummed and a bit more like level-headed and pragmatic. Like, this team's bullshit.
Well, you already jumped off the bridge.
We're not going to win. I jumped off the bridge.
Rolled your ankle.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah. Good thing the bridge was only 3 feet.
Anyway, the Chris predicts from last week are still ongoing. There's been a couple upsets, but there's only been one game played in every group, so it's
hard to say.
Hard to say. This time next week, the groups will pretty much be settled.
Okay. And
we can go back and review. The one thing I did want to mention is out of the teams that I predicted, and I have them handy dandy written here. So I bet the 6 groups, Italy and Wales would go through, Belgium and Denmark, Holland and Austria, England and Croatia, Spain and Poland, Portugal and France. I bet those all is like, there's pretty good odds on those, the way I bet them. But I also did a parlay on that.
I like how you say the way I bet them.
Well, because there's many different ways to bet it.
It's just funny to me.
Yeah. Fuck you.
I'm going to get a fucking call from Chris's lawyer. You owe Chris $15,000.
Oh, yeah. You are splitting this money with me. You said it on YouTube. So out of that,
I do not condone any of
those
the actions.
6, it's unlikely that all of them will come through. So I bet them individually. So I think we're going to be up pretty well. I think I'm going to get 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
Minimum. But if all come through the way I did it, on a $1 bet, $322.
Holy
So anyone
fuck.
who's been following along at home and knows that I'm a wizard, if you'd bet a $10 bet, you could have gotten yourself like $3,200 on my predictions alone.
Jesus.
So a small amount of money to stake.
Small amount of money.
For goddamn guarantees and money.
We are giving away money pretty much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have an update on our account? Like what we're sitting at?
I tried to pull it up, but
it wasn't pulling up. No worries.
We're pretty low. We're like $6.
Shit.
But again,
we're down.
There's
outstanding bets.
There's like $10 on outstanding bets.
So technically we're still up, but we're
up.
down.
We're up. It's just that money. Like if those bets don't come in.
We're up, but we're down.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say we're at $7. We're $3 down.
Okay.
Soon to be up $322.
That would be insane.
That would really cement my legacy as a wizard.
Yeah, we would
That'd put me on the Harry Potter level. Maybe even Voldemort level.
We would have to just stop.
No, fuck that. We're going to double it all down. We're going to lose it all.
Oh, shit.
Anyway.
All right. Yeah, next week, get ready for some alien shit.
Yeah,
so,
we didn't even get to aliens.
No, I just brought it up a couple of times because they did make the pyramids.
Read Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock. Look it up and don't just fucking go and be like, is this all bullshit?
Do you know if there's any like crazy documentaries or
no
based on events about the pyramids? Like
there's a ton of documentaries about the pyramids. It's just they all derive off of
not Scorpion King.
The Mummy Returns.
Is that what that movie was called? Scorpion King?
There was a Scorpion King movie.
Yeah, there was. Okay.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought I made that up.
No, you were right. There is a ton of documentaries, but a lot of them derive off of like the conventional time frame.
Got you.
Which, and all the things that I've read, and people are going to listen to this and go, I'm a fucking conspiracy theorist, but I've actually read shit.
But we are.
For sure. No question. I don't think this is a conspiracy, though.
It's not. It's facts. How in the fuck can a civilization build 2 pyramids? They crumble. They figure it out for one that's gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
It still looks pristine.
Yeah, and then build it again and it's fucking ass. Like, what?
Well, you see, the thing is...
Do you guys all have Alzheimer's and forget? Like, what? What was the lifespan of like, do they know how long, like
human beings have
was it like 10 years old?
No, human beings, that's the biggest misconception about humans in general, is that like there's like, oh, in the 1800s your life expectancy was 35 years old.
Yeah, you were dead at 35.
The reason that number is 35, although the average expectancy, let's say, was 35, just for an example. The reason it was that is because child mortality rate was so low. So the biggest driving factor in like...
It's also got to be due to
learned
like
this
hunting.
No.
And like dying during a hunt.
People die, for sure. But the number that skews like life expectancy is how old are your children living? Because basically it's the big average. If you have a bunch that are dying at 1, you have a bunch that are dying at 80.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I hear that.
I learned this shit in grade 5 social studies. They talked about child mortality rate. They showed us in different parts of the fucking like Earth. Like, okay, this country has a high child mortality rate.
Oh fuck, do you remember that?
Because I'm a psychopath. Like I read 500 paid books in 2 days on shit I find interesting. I wasn't a bad student. I just wasn't interested.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's the thing. That's the difference. Like ADD doesn't exist. You're just not interested.
I agree 100%.
But take Adderall because it's fun to do it at a nightclub. Only for that reason.
Shit.
Yeah, like, so in the 1800s, if like a lot of kids were dying under a certain age, it drives the life expectancy down. People lived well into their 70s and 80s. It's just the average life expectancy was this number, but you had a ton of old people, a ton of young people.
Yeah.
Like, it was pretty much what it was like now, except it got skewed based on how old certain people were when they were dying.
Gotcha.
Because kids and women used to die a lot in childbirth. That was like the number one cause of death forever.
Yeah.
For baby and for mom. Forever.
So long.
Like, I'm going to say forever because up until like 50, 60 years ago, childbirth has become a relatively not dangerous thing. Although babies and women die all the time, tragically.
Yeah.
But we've gone it down to a number where it's like basically,
shit.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But basically we've got it dialed in for the first time in human history. So I'm going to say forever, women and children were dying in childbirth tragically all the time. Not no more.
Nope.
Now the life expectancy is like 77. Literally, when you adjust the child mortality rate, it's like, oh, so it's been the same forever. So to answer your point, there was a dude that was born when the first shitty pyramid was built and then was alive when the second amazing pyramid that still stands today, supposedly, was built. So there was someone in... Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Bullshit.
But here's the other thing, is that these...
Did we question him? Did we interrogate him?
Yeah, they did. He went off the record, though.
Okay, got it.
It's not like the Egyptologists saying that in these dynasty eras, there was like some cataclysm that led to like a loss of reasoning for this, because the culture stays the same, consistent throughout. They believe this, they believe that. You can track that all fairly well. These 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th dynasties all existed. There's no question.
Yeah.
The question is whether they did the things that they're being acclaimed to. And the answer is, I would think overwhelmingly no. But that's just for people to decide.
Now, is it out of the possibility that the 2 shittier ones were made prior to the big one? And that those were almost like...
Oh, I see. Like they were
tests?
getting like they were getting... Like, so it's the inverse, like where the good ones were attributed to somebody that was living in the 4th dynasty.
Yeah.
Like you're saying like these 2 shittier ones were attributed to someone who wasn't living during those dynasties. I don't think that's the case, because
like so the 2 shitty ones weren't leading up to the big
the 2 shitty ones are, there's more like the evidence that they use to ascribe the Great Pyramid of Giza to Khufu is literally his name scratched into the wall, which like is graffiti.
Yeah, he was a vandal.
Yeah. Whatever. Or like whatever he meant to do at the time.
Just
we don't know.
Shit. He probably did it when he was 6.
Probably. So some dude wrote his name on the wall and they're like, he built this. Those other 2 tombs, and there's a documentary on Netflix, which is, it's good, but it's shitty because like once you read this, you're like, is any of this true? But the one thing that they do very well on that, and it's called the Tombs of Saqqara, which is where these shitty pyramids are, is it shows you how detailed they are in documenting exactly who built these, who they were for, and etc. So I think there's more evidence linking those to their exact time frames than there is evidence linking the existing ones to their time frames based on some dude's name on a wall, and that's it.
Got you.
So
yeah, that shit doesn't make sense.
Like I can write my name on a wall now. It doesn't mean I built this house.
I'm pretty sure I wrote my name on a couple of desks. Did I make them? Fuck no.
Exactly.
It was in like grade 4.
Yeah, sure.
I definitely didn't make that shit. But hey, maybe I did. All right. Catch us 2 Season of Pod on Facebook, YouTube, mail.2seasonofpod@gmail.com, and get ready for some aliens next week. We live in a simulation. We're out.
Thanks.
Deuces.